Mom! Dad's got another tattoo!
Hello and welcome to episode 22 of Mum, Dad's Got Another Tattoo, the Midlife Crisis podcast. I'm Mark and I am here with my co-host Richard.
Hello.
Hello Richard. We got some exciting news.
We do. This is.
It sounded like that was going to be news to you for a second. No.
No. Even though we spoke about it 2 minutes ago, left my mind.
Oh yeah,
completely left my mind.
But yes, we do have some exciting news, and we mentioned this a few episodes ago as well. We are linking up with the Campaign Against Living Miserably, CALM, a mental health charity. We're part of a broader campaign called Stay Tuned, which brings together lots of different podcasts. A lot of our Podomedy network brethren are involved in this. This September, we will be taking part in Stay Tuned, which is going to be a month-long event for the suicide prevention charity Campaign Against Living Miserably. We're using the power of the pod to raise money for CALM's life-saving services, which are needed now more than ever, and to help people find ways to stay. So if you can, chuck in £12.20. That's the cost of answering a potentially life-saving call, and the link to our fundraising page is in the description. And the Podomedy target is to raise £1,000 across all of our shows. So if you can, it doesn't have to be £12.20, that'd be great, but anything that you could spare, that'll be great.
Whatever you can add. Whatever you can add. I mean, this is where I want to go full. Give me your fucking money, but But yeah, whatever you
Bob
can
Geldof impression.
I apologise for myself.
Do you know what? He didn't actually say that.
No, he didn't.
That's one of those myths where he said, "Fuck the phone number."
But it's called whatever you can give. Makes a difference.
Yeah, so CALM's Suicide Prevention Helpline is for anyone affected by suicide or suicidal thoughts. It's free, confidential, anonymous, and open from 5 p.m. till midnight every day. Their professionally qualified helpline team are there to talk to people struggling with suicidal thoughts and have lost someone to suicide or are just worried about someone. They're there to give practical, non-judgmental advice and suggestions to help you or the person you're worried about feel better. So you can reach them on 0800 58 58 58 or go to calmzone.net, where you can also access live chat or WhatsApp. So throughout September, we'll be attempting to dedicate parts of our show to the various forms of mental health issues. If you want to help out with any of these initiatives, we'll be trying to come up with some better ideas as well as we go forwards. Please get in touch with us. Dad's Got Another Tattoo at gmail.com or Dad's Got Another Tattoo on social media platforms. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know how you'd like to support, or just get onto our fundraising page in the show description and give us your fucking money.
Or, first comes to my mind, what fundraisers would you like us to do?
No, I'm not doing any of that shit.
I'm not jumping out of a plane.
No. I was thinking I'd end up sitting in a fucking bath of baked beans or something.
I don't mind that. Just don't let me hurt.
Did you hear that, everyone? Richard doesn't mind sitting in a bath of baked beans.
No.
Right, so we got a guest. You mentioned someone looking back over their life and understanding some of the mental problems that they had. Well, our next guest has done exactly that, haven't they, Rich?
I even now, I mean, we recorded this, listeners, about a week ago, and even now I'm speechless, and I think about that interview every single day. What an incredible guy. Not only what he's done, but the person he is now. Enduring highlight of that will be while he's talking about his experiences and what he went through and what he did, was me and you basically sitting there catching flies, both of us, mouth open.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Right, let's get it on. Let's listen to it, and we'll be back afterwards to have a little reflect about what we thought. Our guest today is a former Royal Marine, and amongst his honours is the US Bronze Star with Valour, and he's only the 6th Briton ever to be awarded that medal, which he won for heroism in Afghanistan. However, back home, he faced complex PTSD symptoms, self-medicating with alcohol. Gradually, he rebuilt himself, first as a tree surgeon before selling up to found Atomic Rambo Coaching, ARC, or ARC. He now guides people past addiction and helps them overcome life's obstacles. Off duty, he's an endurance junkie, Ironman finisher, summiting Denali in the US, Mont Blanc and Peak Lenin in Kyrgyzstan, and he's currently training for a 290-mile race to the Arctic Circle. Dan Holder, welcome to Mum, Dad's Got Another Tattoo.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on, Mark and Richard.
No, really great to have you here. And really
wild introduction.
Yeah, well, I mean, but it's all true, which is the
just listening to it. Yeah,
I didn't summit in Kyrgyzstan, by the way, but that comes later about failure. Greater failing.
I did see in your literature that, you know, failure is a very important part of success, which gives me lots of hope because I've failed loads, so I should be due tons of success in the future if that's the case.
All about learning from it.
Oh, right. Well, that's probably the next mistake that I've made. Yeah, keep doing the same thing over and over again. But yeah, we were really interested and excited to talk to you because of, you know, that CV is only brushes the surface, really. And so we'd love to get into your story, and why not start at the beginning of that, which is when you joined the Marines. Is that sort of a family connection, something you always wanted to do, and what really appealed you to join that particular branch of the military?
So it was a complete accident. Is the actual answer.
How did you join the Marines accidentally?
Yeah, so I joined as a reservist to start with, and I was at university, and I went to the Freshers' Fair in my first year, and a guy I knew who I went to school with, who's quite a few years older, collared me, and he was in a Marines uniform, and probably I was just looking a bit lost around Freshers' Fair, basically. And he was like, Dan, are you still running? Because I used to be a good runner. And he's like, yeah, of course I am. And he said to me, well, you do know you can get paid to run, don't you? And I was like, all right, what's that mean then? and then he was like, look, you could join the Marines. It's every Wednesday night, and then the odd weekend. And then, you know, in a year's or so time, you'll have your green beret and you'll be a fully fledged Royal Marine. And I was like, okay. So I went along, and then loved it from there on. And he was right. I got paid to run, which was great.
But I imagine that sounds a lot easier than the actual process.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, I was so fresh. I knew nothing about the military. I just literally went straight in, and then the rest is all behind me now. But yeah, it was pretty wild. But I do have family connections. I just didn't learn that until I was older, because they kind of kept it. I think they kept it away from me.
So was running your passion? Sorry, what? Was running?
Yeah. When I was younger, I was a good county level runner, which helps massively if you're higher end military infantry. If you can run, it makes a huge difference. I was just a bit weak then.
Your story. There is slightly different to sort of normal Marine entry. I'm basing this entirely on Marine training documentaries that I've watched over the years, because obviously I'm far too weak and cowardly to do anything like it myself. But it seems that that's
a perception, Mark.
Perception is reality. So, but. So I imagine the archetypal Marine trainee is, you know, school leaver, sometimes don't know what to do with their life. Sometimes, you know, that's why I asked about the family connection. You know, parents or grandparents were Marines and they want to continue that sort of tradition. Is that a fair perception, or is it all? For
some, but to be honest, in the Marines, you had a really big mix of you know, private school kids, kids that weren't sure what to do and that was the best option. There were university graduates who had then finished uni and still didn't know what to do and joined the military. There was a really, really big mix, to be fair. especially in the Marines. I'm not sure about the Army because I wasn't in it, but the Marines had a good variety of different types of guys.
How intense is that initial training regime, and what's the dropout percentage from, say, day one to passing out?
So my entry in was a bit different in the reserves, and basically you had to get yourself fit enough to do it in your own time. So we were just there to do all the skills and drills and everything you had to do to be a Marine, but I had to do my own training, so it was very you had to motivate yourself.
A lot of self-discipline, I imagine.
Yeah, a lot of self-discipline. So it was very different, whereas being there full-time was arduous, like relentless, but you were there and you were doing it, and they didn't have to you had no option, exactly. So yeah, it's very hard is the answer, to be honest. It is really hard, and you learn a lot about yourself, a lot of failure. And yeah, the training, so there's tests at the end to do your commando course to get your green beret, and to be honest, they're the easy bit, because once you've done all the training's a super hard bit where you're beasted, things are super hard, they keep you awake for weeks on end. But the bits at the end are actually, to be honest, were enjoyable for me. So the tests were the actual good bit. The training's the bit where you're really, hanging out.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the impressions that I get. And don't you, at some point, you must be multiple times when you think, fuck this, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're a couple of days into an exercise and it's been raining the whole time, and it's 1 degree, 2 degrees, or just below freezing, and then they're making you crawl through puddles, but you have to break the ice and the puddles to crawl through them. You start to question your and then go to sleep, and then get up an hour later and go on patrol, or it's
isn't a lot of that physical stuff. Is it more about it's testing your mentality as well?
It's all mentality. Yeah, because there's such varying different. Some guys are super good runners, some guys are super strong, some guys are a good mix. There's such a variety of guys that are good at certain things, not good at others, that really it all ends up being a mental test. It really is.
Can you feel yourself changing, or is it just, it's a gradual process, and then after a number of weeks or months, you sort of realise that I'm different now? Is there that realisation, or?
Yeah, I thought going in, I was quite strong mentally, because I was racing marathons then, and it takes a lot out of you mentally, and it's hard. But I realised that all I was doing was one activity, and that's not so bad. But when you're having to do it and then think about everything, where am I on a map whilst getting beasted? Using a weapon, everything that comes with it. There's a lot more going on, and yes, your capacity to do things goes up like next level, for sure.
And so when you pass out, is that the right phrase for as a Marine? Do you feel like, I'm a Marine now, or is there a little bit of doubt at the back of your mind?
You get your green beret, and then you're like, I made it, and then you realise you're at the bottom, and then all the hard work starts then, and everything gets harder. You go on an exercise, and everything's heavier, and then and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, actually. You've just scratched the tiny bit, and then all of a sudden it all gets really real.
And when do you come to that realisation? Yeah, go on.
Like you must feel like that was your entry exam almost.
Yeah, it is like that as well. And you are right at the bottom. Like you pass out, and then all of a sudden there's guys that have been there 10, 15 years, got all the experience, all the little things. It's like a normal job, isn't it? You do some training, you go in thinking you're the dog's bollocks, and then all of a sudden you're at the bottom again, and you're back to square one.
I would say that's where the similarities with a normal job end.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
And so when again, I'm going to rely on my recollection of these documentaries. You know, there's something kicks off somewhere, in this case, Afghanistan and Iraq simultaneously. And are you genuinely, you know, this is what you've trained for, but are you like, right, let's get out there and get involved, or do you think, oh fuck, you know, we're going to actually, you know, running around the Brecon Beacons is one thing, but doing it somewhere else?
Yeah, I think, and that is an interesting question, because I think you don't know until you're in that situation is the actual answer. I had no idea how I would react the first time I got shot at. And yes, I would say everyone on the whole, so the unit I went with and my troop, we were up for it. We're motivated, wanted to go. But when you get there and you're faced with reality and you realise that you don't hear bullets until they go past you, all of a sudden it's not quite whoa. Yeah, like the movies. Yeah, you're not like seeing a firing point 500 metres away and see someone shoot at you. You hear it either whiz or crack or go past you, and then you realise, oh, someone's actually aiming at me, or you know, it's just not quite what you'd expect. And there's a lot more with it as well. It's not just it's bombs in the ground, you know, people ambushing you. There's a whole host of, and it's 50 degrees. Yeah.
And do you feel that constant high alert as well once that, you know, you're out, and or like, is there any way to relax into it? I mean, in a professional sense, I mean that.
Yeah, I think, and I think that's building resilience essentially. The more situations you're in, the more you learn and the more you adapt. It's just obviously it's an extremely extreme situation, and you have to adapt really fast. So for me, for example, I was a point man with a metal detector and a rifle. So a metal detector in one hand, rifle in the other, at the head of the troop, moving across different terrain. But I had to very quickly learn to watch out for atmospherics. If people stopped walking around and all of a sudden everyone disappeared, I'm probably going to get attacked by the Taliban. I had to be looking at the ground because there were bombs planted everywhere, and then also keeping an eye out for someone who's going to shoot me. And being the first, me and a few lads were the point men, and being the first man in the patrol, you just had to learn extremely quickly, because the reality was it's probably at the time the most dangerous place on the planet, and I was doing the most dangerous job.
Yeah, I used to watch Paint It Black, the Vietnam show.
Yeah, point men don't last long, do they?
Yeah, point man. It's like, if he's a new character and he's point man, you know he's not going to credit.
Yeah.
How long after passing out were you deployed to Afghanistan?
So I passed out in 2008 and I deployed in 2000. I flew out to Afghan in 2010, but I was at the unit in full-time Marines for nearly a year before that. So not long, to be honest. Like a year of training. I had to do a load of training after getting my green beret, and then move to the unit, and then you're at the unit, and then you do pre-deployment training, and then you head out to Afghanistan. So you need time to like be part of a group and really work together and do different types of training, because the last thing you want is working with new people before bullets are going everywhere.
And is this like, how often are you out doing this? Is this like 7 days a week?
I only went once.
Is that enough?
Yeah. To be honest, for me, I did so much. Do you mean how often are you going out on the ground fighting, or do you mean? Yeah.
So you're the point man, but obviously, you know, you don't do that
every day.
It is every day.
Much.
Fucking hell, and that must be something.
Yeah, for nearly 7 months.
So you must need time to decompress after the patrols, or do you get that time to decompress?
Yeah, they did try. It's just we ended up, you know, for a lot of the time I was in a really small patrol base with just a multiple guys, so 11 guys, and we were on a tiny patrol base getting attacked regularly. And to be honest, you get sleep when you can, like when you can, basically. I reckon we were averaging 2-3 hours sleep a night for the whole thing, and probably worse than that sometimes. Yeah, he did. And life is simple. There's a simplicity about it. You had one task and you're going out and doing what you're doing, and that is your world for 6-7 months. So although it is stupid, dangerous and bad, there's something simple and almost nice about it.
It's uncomplicated.
Uncomplicated is a good way of looking at it. Yeah,
you've just got to do that one thing to the best of your abilities, and you'll come home.
You just want to survive and get home.
And we mentioned your award of the Bronze Star, which, as I understand it, is a US Medal of Valor, and yet you were awarded that. And I've also read the 2 citations of the incident, like the main incidents that led to that. When you read that, is it like a different person? Are you removed from it, or can you remember all of those?
Yeah. So I know we'll get on to PTSD in a bit, but part of it was, so now I can read it. It's on my wall next to me. I can read it. It's not a problem. But before, all I was doing was reliving the incidents again, the loss of friends, the stress and, just energy of the whole situation. All I was doing was going over it over and over again. And that's why it's taken a long time to get to, 5 years ago, I wouldn't be able to sit here talking to you about it. Maybe a bit longer than 6-7 years. So it's, definitely, it's fine to read now, but before, all it was, what happened.
Yeah. And when you say, like, reliving it, is that, like, thinking about it, but the imagination, like, is so strong, the memory is so strong, you're basically there, or how did that... So I had complex PTSD when I got back, and I was bad initially when I got back, but I wasn't that bad. I was self-medicating with alcohol to numb down what was going on in my brain. But it was when I got the medal a year later, then I was going to champagne dues, having citation read out regularly and people clapping. But what I didn't realise was I was basically going through the situation over and over and over again in my head. So then when, during the day, I would get daily flashbacks of up to half hour back in the scenario. So I was a tree surgeon then, and I'd be up a tree, look out on a field. If something would trigger me that was similar to Afghanistan, and then all of a sudden I'm up a tree with a chainsaw, and next minute I'm transported back to Afghanistan. And that would happen regularly every single day. Then night terrors, I'd be back in the environment again every night. And if I wanted to walk down like a high street or a normal street, if someone had dug something up, I'd have to cross the road and get out of the way because I thought I'd get blown up. It was just like a constant cycle. And it was the medal that really triggered the bad. Not that PTSD is bad, whatever, but it was that really kicked it off to be a bit too extreme for me to deal with. Okay, and like, how comfortable are you sharing that incident now? Like, I mean, will you be able to tell us? I mean, if you're not,
fine.
I could always.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks. No, absolutely fine. I just, being a comedy podcast, I don't want to bring it down too much,
Well, comedy is a very loose description.
Yeah.
So. But
yeah, I'm happy to run through,
Yeah, go for it. I would like to hear it.
Yeah, so essentially, I got the Bravery Medal for 2 incidences, which I'll explain. But me and the lads I was with, to be honest, went through similar things every week, if not every other day. So although I got awarded for those incidents, there was stuff happening and guys did amazing things all the time. It was quite a normal thing. But what I got the medal for, I was in a patrol base, and a patrol was out on the ground, and they hit an IED and had 2 casualties. So we were the QRF, which is the quick reaction force, and we were tasked with getting to them and then basically getting them out as best we could. So I was point man like normal, come across a field, I have to go across a river to get to them. As I'm coming down to the river, another explosion goes off. So this troop have now got 5 casualties, and I'm trying to make my way to them. I come down into the river, come up the other side on the bank, and they're just round the corner. They're in an old compound that had been hit by a 500-pound bomb, so it's like a massive crater with like little small walls that are like 2 to 3 foot high because the whole building's been obliterated. Then as I'm coming round the corner to try and get to them, something was going off in my brain, like literally screaming at me, do not put your foot down. And I looked down and all I could see was the faintest little edge in the ground, tiny little edge. And I looked down, my foot was just hovering over it, and it was a pressure plate IED. That I was literally an inch away from putting my foot on it. So I called my section commander who's behind me to come and have a look just to confirm. And he was like, oh, yep, that's a bomb. There. So yeah, luckily I didn't tread on that. Turned around, got back in the river. As I'm going up the river, there's a tripwire with a grenade on. I find that. So then we have to backtrack again. My mate, who's the other point man with me, finds another tripwire with a grenade. So we have to come back a few meters, and then we basically push our way, make a safe way into where all the casualties are. And they're spread out, and it's pretty messy. And get to them, and then it's basically try and work out how we're going to get 5 people out of a really bad situation. So between us all, we start doing the evacuation. One of my friends has been badly hit. Everyone's alive, but 2 of them, aren't going to make it. Then there's 3 that are bad, but they're going to make it, but going to have long-term life-changing injuries, effectively. So I end up doing 4 of the casualty evacuations on stretchers. I do 3 of them on stretchers. 1, we do the worst injured first, and we take them through the route that I created, like dodging the bombs, out into a field, and then 200 meters across a field to where the sergeant major and his like group of people are, and they're going to take the casualty to then get a helicopter. As we start taking the first casualty across, the Taliban then ambush us, and we're getting fired at from one side and another. So not only we got 5 casualties, we've also got the Taliban firing at us, and we're running with rounds pinging off around our feet. So then I repeat this for another 3 times. But the last guy, who's another good mate, unfortunately had blast injuries to the backs of his legs. And we run out of stretchers, because that's what happens when you got that amount of casualties. And we ended up having to put him on a ladder, and then we carry him out of a ladder, and then we're just sprinting because by then the Taliban have really hemmed us in. We're getting rounds everywhere, but fortunately no one got hit. And then we spent the next 2-3 hours fighting with the Taliban after that, and then the casualties got taken out. It's a bit hard to explain the whole dynamic, but I'll be honest, that's the hardest physically I've ever worked in my life, even now after doing big mountains. And I don't think I've ever been that tired mentally and physically all in one go.
It was quite an adrenaline dump afterwards. You must have really felt completely and utterly exhausted.
So all my memories of it are from bird's eye view. I think it was that extreme, and that my senses were so high that it was felt like almost out of body, to be honest. Especially at the beginning, because I knew the second bomb that went off was my friend, So I was kind of rushing, but something was holding me back from pushing on, and luckily it did. But from then on, all my memories of it, I can picture the whole scenario really, really well, but from above.
I get the impression from how you've described that you don't really feel like you're doing it justice. But I mean, as you're talking to me, I can feel really tense and like basically a whole helmet. Yeah, I was going to say, holding my breath. No, it's fine. What I want to get across to you is that you may not feel like you're giving. I mean, I don't know. It's just a guess.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a thing you want to do justice, because I lost a good friend. The Americans lost a good guy, and then there were 3 bad casualties. It was just a really, really, and I know a lot of guys that struggle with it. Guys I've subsequently helped over the years as well. Were there as well, and everyone. That was one of those scenarios where you're really up against it.
Mm. Well, I just want to
been any more on the enemy's side if it had tried.
Yeah. Well, I want to give you the reassurance that story has had an impact certainly on us too as well. So I think, so from our point of view, you are doing it justice, and I'm really grateful for you sharing that as well. And then you
so that was number 1.
That was because there's 2 on there. Because when I first read it, I thought that was one incident, but it's 2, isn't it? In the citation. Do you want to talk about the second one as well?
Yeah. So the second one, although bad, didn't have as much of an impact on me as the first one. I think the first one was more personal. Really good friend, and what comes with that, and grief and loss and all the things that everyone has to deal with in life. It's just I wasn't expecting it when I was that young, to be honest. Then the second one, so being a tree surgeon and someone that's used chainsaws all their youth, I would regularly go out with a chainsaw and a pistol on patrol, and then I would cut tree lines down so that the main tower had good vision all around, so that when we got attacked, they could basically ping and see where the enemy was. And so I'd go out on patrol, getting shot at, using a chainsaw, taking trees down. And then sometimes on the ground, sometimes I climb as well. And on this one occasion, I was climbing a tree to cut it down, and in the river, I could see underneath a load of debris had gone through the river, and it snagged loads of tripwires in the river. So I knew there were bombs in there. And then I look up the alleyway next to where I was, and you could just, from above, you couldn't see much when you stood lower down, but because I was up the tree, I could see all where they dug in the bombs. So I reported it back, and then we're having a meeting, and they're like, "So Dan, we got a job for you tomorrow." And I'm like, "Oh, right, what's going on?" And they're like, "We've got this bomb disposal guy, and he's like amazing, and we're going to send you out with him tomorrow to find all those bombs that you found." I was like, brilliant.
Get your mouth shut.
It's all right. I was kind of used to it by then.
Sorry, go on, carry on.
No, carry on. Go for it.
I was looking at it the way my mind works. From the Taliban's perspective, how fucking scary would it be to see a British Marine with a gun and a chainsaw? I mean, they must be thinking, what is this guy doing?
Yeah, I wasn't. I had. It's probably not gonna sound weird, but in order to survive out there, you got to think like them. I had respect for how they did things. Like they were pretty genius and really good at getting in places that you would not think they could get to. They were really, especially with their bomb making, super clever, necky. Guerrilla warfare. Yeah, and you had to think like that. So that came, and we had a radio where we could hear them, and they knew who I was, and you would have some...
You're like a local celeb.
Yeah. A target, yeah.
That's so. When you went back to the river, did you then have to climb the tree again to point out where?
No.
Just
So the next day, I take out this bomb disposal expert. The rumor is that Hurt Locker, the film, is based on this guy.
Nice. Great.
A lot of it, yeah. And to be fair to him, I saw him before pulling IEDs out the ground. Like he was something else. So I went out with him. I was basically showing him where we were in a small team. I was showing him where the bombs were, and him and his number two were going to defuse the bombs. So he gets to the first one, defuses the first bomb, all going fine. The only problem was we were really channeled. We were in a tight alleyway with walls with holes in where they could easily, so they're called murder holes, and they used to stick the rifles through and then spray you with bullets. We had Overwatch, but I knew they could quite easily sneak up on you and get within like meters of you, and that was on our minds, obviously. Then he starts defusing the second bomb. I'm a couple of meters away, and unfortunately it goes off on him. Then throws me to the ground, I don't know, 5 meters, 10 meters, I have no idea. It just picked me up, threw me. Then I get up, put my metal detector on, and then just go into my normal mode of, right, let's sort this out. The guys behind me, their ears are busted. Luckily, mine weren't. He essentially took the blast for me, but they found his helmet over 500 meters away, and that went just past me. And then basically my job then was to get out all the guys behind me and his number two. His number two was in a lot of distress. It was his good mate, and he wasn't thinking straight, and we kind of had to control him. And then I got us into the river, got through the river, navigated around 4 more IEDs, and then got the team out to a wall where we put a ladder down, got the rest of them out. I then found his body, and then I was going to go and get it. And this is part of my PTSD and issues, is that I felt I needed to save people even when they were in a state that couldn't be saved. So I was going for that, and my sergeant was like, "Dan, what you doing? Like, just get out. Let's just get you to safety. You're alive. Let's get you out." So I came back, got out, and essentially, I think it was the medal was just for staying calm and finding all the bombs that then got us out, because that would have been another really bad situation. But that is it for the second.
That's it.
Yeah,
but you're also saying this is like, those are two things that were cited, but this is like a regular occurrence of similar.
Yeah, we
things,
had a lot of instances like that. I found a lot of bombs, got blown up quite a few times. Got taking tree lines down. I was using the trees as cover to stop the bullets from hitting me. It's it was like that all the time as well. We had some big defenses of bases and things like that where, you're at risk of being overrun.
Yeah. And a question that occurs to me now, so feel free not to answer it if you don't want to, but are you like mindful of the sort of geopolitics that is going on behind this? I mean, you say your world's very simple and it's very small, but it's a part of like some bigger thing over which you've got very little control. And so when things develop, either when you're there or how things have developed in Afghanistan subsequently, does that have an impact on you as well?
So I remember landing with my friend at Jackson, which is in Sangin in Helmand, right in the centre of Helmand province, where all the big fighting was. I remember landing there, and we were looking out the back of the Chinook and just looking at each other and being like, what the fuck are we here for? Like, genuinely.
Yeah.
Like, this is, So we knew, to be honest, I did, that the whole thing is, we were doing some good locally for some people, but I'd say overall, yes, we were trying to do some good, but realistically, we're just dominating ground that we knew would eventually be taken by the Taliban, because they've got that one magical asset, which is time.
You can't be there indefinitely, can you? That's the thing. How you could.
No, and I think we just got in. Yeah, obviously, there's so much more to go on about this, but realistically, you're not going to win a war where all they got to do is wait.
Yeah. I was reading something about the Great Game, the sort of battles between Russia and the United Kingdom back in the sort of 19th century, and Afghanistan is a battleground there as well. And and you read that the locals sort of withdraw to the mountains, they withdraw and use guerrilla tactics until
Mujahideen, and then just wait.
The invaders leave, and the Soviets found that out again in 1980, where they got stuck there for 10 years, and then lo and behold, we're there.
We did 20.
20, yeah. Take that, Russia. 20. So, and those incidents, like when your tour is finished, and how long was it between those symptoms setting in and then you either deciding to leave the Marines? Like, what was that whole period looking like?
So it's only in the last 5 years or so I've kind of managed to work out what actually happened. So I got back, and I down the pub a lot, because just drinking, just trying to numb down all the thoughts in my head and crazy things that happened.
It's your coping mechanism.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, exactly.
And I come from work, though. I know you with alcohol. I just wonder, even though it brings in a whole host of other health issues in the long term, does it work in the moment?
No, I think we just lie to ourselves. It's just a convenient thing it's an activity. So I could have done the same with the gym. Probably not quite the same, because when you're out of your head on drink, like I could get blackout drunk, and then I'm not thinking about it.
Then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I do drinking first, then I started getting PTSD symptoms probably just before a year later. Then I won the medal, then it elevated from there. And then that's where, I'm really lucky. I've always been able to work. I've always had a good, generally positive attitude. I've always got on with stuff in business, or, I've got always had good people around me, supportive people. So I'm lucky in that regard, but I was bad. So in terms of treatment, the military tried to get me help to start with, because they were trying to keep me on. I lasted a few days at Combat Stress, a charity, and then left for a whole number of reasons. Not fitting in with the other guys that were there was the main reason. It just wasn't. We'd sit in a circle and I'd explain my issues, and then I'd have a guy talking to me about how he's trying to claim money off the government, and I was like, I'm not. It just wasn't right for me at the time, and I know they do fantastic work. I talk to them, and they do amazing things, but at the time it wasn't right for me. That didn't work. Then I went through the NHS, had CBT. That didn't even touch the surface. Then I left, and I just done Arctic warfare training. I'd just come top of the whole thing. Just done junior command course. I've done really well on that as well. So career progression wise, I was just doing special forces selection. It was all going in the right direction, but my sergeant major is basically in charge of me at the time, had no idea that I was suffering. He had absolutely no idea. It was only because we went to a function and I got drunk that they realise, oh, that, like, he is not right. But they had absolutely no idea, because when I was back in the military, I didn't present like that at all. And I've only just worked that out because I now talk to them. But obviously shut off for years. So
Was it something that you consciously suppressed, or was it just you were back in the military mode?
nah, I think I was just happy to crack on with what we were doing, and you know, I thought I wanted to do that and carry on and have a bigger career and go to war again and all this stuff. But then once I worked it out that I wasn't okay, and that did I really want to shoot people forever, you know? And then if I'm already struggling now, if I carry on another 10, 15 years, what am I going to be like then? And I remember a guy I really respect, who I still speak to regularly, who was one of my bosses, said to me, "You could do so much more outside of the military, Dan, if you want to." And I was like, do you know what? There is so much more I want to do. So, and then I just left, and that was never ever regretted leaving.
Yeah, I wanted to
even though I
ask you
loved
about
it.
that. Yeah, because like, so this is a midlife crisis themed podcast, and I think a lot of people in my position, like mid-40s, you sort of drift into this state, if you like, know. But before I started exercising,
unconsciously,
I didn't put on 2 stone in a week. It was over the course of about 10 years.
2 stone, you absolute amateur.
Yeah, well, I'm all right as a percentage of my body weight. I better. Yeah, on 5 stone. You know, pick your number, but it could only be like, maybe it's, I don't know, you're putting on £5 a year for 10 years. And so it's a drift into that. But when you leave the Marines, one day you're a Marine, and then you're not. Did you feel that sort of that loss of identity, or, you know, how did you deal with that? Or was it, I'm free at last?
I have never felt like I lost anything by leaving, to be honest. Especially now, I go skiing every year with a good group of guys that I was in with. One of my best mates is the guy I do all my mountaineering with. We both went to war together, and they were all the things that kept you in the Marines. Was the camaraderie and the guys, and you know, some guys you don't get on with, who I don't talk to, and that's the same as work. You know, some people you gel with, some people, exactly that. And like I said, I've always had good people around me, and I did take some good people from the military who are still in my life to this day. So I didn't really lose anything. All I've ended up doing, to be honest, is all the things I want to do, but on my own terms. So like the mountaineering, I like mountaineering in the military, but you couldn't do what I do now. You couldn't do it to the level that we do it, the same as I couldn't do as many big endurance races and things. You could still do it, but it's as part of your job. Whereas now I have a freedom to do, I mean, that comes with issues too. But it's, you know, I don't feel like I lost a lot or any identity by leaving. And it is a bit like once a Marine, always a Marine. If I meet another Marine, we just openly chat as if we met, you know, yesterday. It's,
And once you left, how quickly was it that you decided on the next step of your life, like what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I ran a good tree surgery company for quite a while, and it was when someone reminded me of it the other day. But it was when I had a queue of tree surgery business owners outside of my door and my office that I realized that I had something to give. and they were all coming in for their therapy sessions, as they would call it, or business mentorship or consultancy or things like that. And it never ended up being about tree work. It was always about their life and how they can improve. And then it kind of clicked. And I'd started working with veterans as well. I'd started working with guys I knew originally from war. Then then they would tell their friends, and then it would move into other people, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I loved tree work. I was good, loved climbing trees, all the fun stuff and machinery that go with it, but it wasn't serving me. So, and I, be lying to myself if I wasn't going to live a life of purpose and do what I want to do. So when I knew it was time, I sold the company and then pursued this, which is a risk, but the right risk.
It must seem quite small, those risks, compared to other risks that you've taken.
That's why you can take them, because I built up the resilience.
Yeah. And how did you, so you mentioned that, you had complex PTSD and the symptoms of that, dealing with alcohol. How did you make the transition to the tree surgeon, the mentor? Was it steps that you took yourself, or?
Not what? How did I start helping people?
Well, why did they look to you? I mean, I assume at some stage you. But did you move from coping with?
I was running a good company.
Yeah,
I was running a good company that was performing really well, and I led it in a way that most people wanted to work for me. So our company, most of my customers were tree surgeons, and they would get us in to do the difficult work. So I had some of the best, most elite climbers work for me, and they wanted to work for me. And then the other business owners were like, how do you get these staff and stuff like that? And it's just like mainly because I let people do what they wanted to do and paid them well.
Oh, I'm all in favour of that approach. My boss is listening to
But when someone's good and they're passionate about it, just let them go. You have to have some parameters, but when people are good, you don't. It's not about, you got to let them do what they want to do.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that, actually. Here's what we want to achieve. You're employed for a reason. I don't necessarily know what the answer is, but I'm happy to use my experience and help you do it. I mean, I'm not, doing anything nearly as active and as brave in the military sense either. But it's do you think that's like a universal management style that really works?
Leadership, yeah, I'd say knowing what your strengths are is key. So I know what my strengths are and I know what my weaknesses are, and I delegate everything else. I still learn and try and do those things, but I don't waste time. I don't waste time doing the things I know I'm not good at. I'm quite good at leading people and trying to be inspirational and getting people to work and things like that. I'm good at that. I'm not so good at the accounts and all those things. That's why I have an accountant. The same as with this stuff. I'm good at meeting people, talking to people, doing the coaching, but I'm not good at creating a website, making content, all that stuff. I'm not. So the first thing I did was get the best people I knew to do it for me. Because I think working on your strengths is key.
I think that resonates with me quite a bit, because I have my own small business, and it can be quite specialised because we deal with children with social emotional behavioural issues. And listen, I'm the front man, as I say to my senior staff, you guys are the specialists. You've got the skills. I just let you work within those parameters, and you create.
Yeah,
I think that's
exactly that. Yeah, and you get, not always, but generally people have a much better. None of us go to work to just bang your head against the wall all the time. Well, I certainly don't, and I wouldn't want anyone that works for me to either. I know, Mark, you probably come from a bit of a different, you come from the corporate world, don't you?
I do, yeah. So I've worked in the city all my career, across big US firms, small little hedge funds, and currently in the pensions world. And there's definitely leadership style. I'm not trying to draw parallels necessarily with day to day, but in terms of leadership, the inspirational ones are the ones that allow you that autonomy and a sense that there's a link between your effort and the reward that you get. I think that's very important, and an autonomy as well. I mean, I hate being micromanaged, and I don't do that to other people either. And they will succeed or fail on their own terms. You know, I think a lot of the time people find themselves in management situations and they use the only management role models that they've ever had, which is either their teachers or their parents, and they may act like that as well. And I've encountered that earlier in my career, and I did not react very well to it whatsoever. Yeah. But yeah, so I recognise that as well, and I guess you must like your sort of coaching and mentorship. It's not just solely veterans anymore.
No. I've got CEOs of tech firms. I've got to be honest, at the moment, I have more women than I have men. I have mainly men for the alcohol work, and then for the positive psychology, it's mainly women and a few guys, but a lot of women in bigger jobs.
Do you think that that gender balance and how it's distributed through the services that you offer says something about the way men approach mental health? Because I can see if you are drinking, that has a very obvious outwards and immediate impact. You know, like your judgment and your behaviour is impaired almost straight away. But the mental side of things, you've of your own volition got to put your hand up and say something's not right here, I need to address it. And so whether it's acute PTSD or say less acute issues that men are facing, but they're struggling, what do you say to somebody listening to this who may be thinking, well, that's me, I need to do something? What's the first step?
So obviously a lot of men don't talk about it, but there's in growth and resilience, you need to be vulnerable, I think. And unless you start talking, and what I do with my clients is I have a lot of guys who have never spoken to anyone about anything in their whole entire lives. And we take them from the bottom and then we build them up. But I think people think that you need to make huge, massive changes straight away in order to feel better. But it's not. It's taking small, tiny steps. So the first thing I get guys to do, I call it a hero's journal, but they can just write, even if it's 3 things that day about the emotions that they felt. And then I get them to start questioning why they're feeling those emotions. Because as guys, normally, we haven't even thought about why we're feeling something. We just react to it after. But then by doing that consistently and regularly, you're then building up some kind of resilience and understanding and awareness, most importantly, of why you're actually feeling that way. Do you see what I mean? And it just takes time and patience, which everyone wants that magic bullet. But the actual reality is it's just small, consistent steps of improvement and change that will ultimately lead you to be better in the future. But it's getting that across.
I've always been fascinated with mountain climbing, climbing in general. Never been to one of the indoor ones, you know.
All right, yeah.
How did you get into that? And looking at the mountains you've climbed, have there been any uncomfortable or out there moments when you've been up there? I can imagine there have.
Yeah, so I'll start with I have failed to summit more than I have summited on mountains, but because I failed to summit and I learned how to deal with things and different things about myself and how I deal with altitude and where my limits are, that is the reason I've now summited way harder mountains, was because I came back but I've been in an absolute state many times. I did a little bit in the military, and I was always strong in the mountains. And then I started ice climbing in Scotland, and then I just took it from there, basically. And one of my best mates from the Marines also took up climbing at a similar time. Now, he's a fantastic rock climber and an amazing mountaineer, better than me. But we always go together and do things, and it's just the journey and what you learn about yourself on every single mountain trip is you can't beat it. We don't have guides. We do everything self-guided. We carry everything. We climb like pretty much pure alpine style, which means you literally carry it. You take everything in and everything out. So it's very heavy, hard, and
extreme,
uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's what it's about, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah.
Have you got any more planned?
No. I'm only concentrating on the Arctic Spine race at the moment, which is in February.
That's taking up a bit of time.
Yeah, it's just yeah. So I'm doing long story. I'm doing Ironman September. I do that as training to help with the mountains, or for big events like the Arctic Spine race, because I like a bit of the cross training. So I'm going to do Ironman Wales in September. And then I just move on to making my legs as strong as humanly possible, ready for Sweden. And then I'm going to go to Finland for a couple of weeks and do some big cross-country skiing and just, long runs and just get as strong as possible, basically, for that. That's my main objective, February 2026.
I'll have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, we'd love to follow your progress. And so, so the ARC method and your training business, what is the is there a central philosophy?
I've either worked with veterans one-on-one or it's been as group calls. And and the stuff I was helping them with was basically basic, like early on. It's a bit different now. Now I've trained and things have grown or evolved, essentially. But it started off, I needed a way to kind of easily bracket what they were learning and something that they could easily reference. So I came up with ARC, which is simply awareness, resilience, and commitment. And then you shouldn't simplify this stuff too much because it's a very complex subject. However, if I can get in even if I make them 1% better over a week, then they're making improvements. And if that means making something as simple as possible, then that is what I've basically created. And so far it's worked really well, and people can remember it, and the words are easy, and it's a simple method to help people improve. Now, I would happily give you an example of how I've just used it. And I've just been to Peru, and we were climbing Alpamayo, which is one of the most beautiful mountains on the planet. If you ever look it up on Google, and you'll see a perfect pyramid peak, ice all the way. So it's a big old ice climb at 6,000 meters. The airline lost my bag. I got to high camp and then didn't feel okay to summit. They summited, came down, and the next day we were going to go down. But in that night, I started, my lungs started gurgling, and I was clearly going down with bad altitude sickness. And this is where even I, the guy that does the coaching, started using my own method. So I was like, right, because I'm starting to panic a little bit. And in the night, I'm like, right, awareness, what you got to do? Right, I know who I am. I've been in this situation before. I was at 5,500 meters at the time. I can hear my breath. It's crackling. There's clearly liquid in my lungs. Right. Okay. That's phase one. Number two, in awareness, surround yourself with the people you want to be around or who are good for you. Number two, I'm with two of the strongest mountaineers I know. Fantastic. That's a good thing. Number three, right, what is the situation and how can you be more aware of what's going on? I always carry a book that has simple little tasks that tell you what is wrong with you. So be prepared. So I get my book out and I'm like, right, yeah, do you have crackling in the lungs? Yeah. Okay, that's not good. Can you barely move? Yeah. Okay. Have you got a massive headache? Yeah. Okay. Well, fantastic. I've got HAPE. Next thing, make sure you communicate. So I tell the guys, I've clearly got HAPE. We need to go down. Okay. So we make a plan. And the plan is, in the morning, as soon as first light comes up, we'll collapse all the kit and we'll get down. Now, the reason, we didn't take my oxygen reading until later on, but it turns out it was in like the low 40s, which is, for anyone listening to this who's in medical profession, the low 40s is really bad. Me and my mate who mountaineered together found a guy in Kyrgyzstan. His was in the mid 60s and he couldn't move. So the fact that mine was in the 40s was not good. So the next day we get up and we start walking. And this is where, so I know you asked me, am I ever scared? Now, that moment when I got up to start walking away to descend was when I realized, oh dear, I'm in a world of shit. And at that moment, I was scared. I was thinking, this is going to be really bad. However, because I'm aware and I've done hard things in the past, I've built resilience enough to know that I can deal with pretty much any situation. And that is why it's important to do hard things, to build resilience, to do things outside your comfort zone, because when the shit hits the fan, which it does now and then, especially if you do stupid stuff like me, sometimes you're going to need it. So we start descending and we as a group decide to commit. So awareness, I'm aware that I'm in a bad way. Then we have committed to going from the high camp all the way to the base camp. Now, part of that commitment included me not allowing myself to pass out, because if I passed out, the lads were going to have an even bigger task on their hands. And I was abseiling down vertical ice. We're going across big glaciers with big crevasses, all the stuff that go with it. Not in a good position. But as a team, we did that all together, and we managed to get me down to base camp and successfully rescued. Now, I know it's a very simplified way of looking at it, but people should question, am I with the right people? And this is in life in general, in business. Am I surrounded by positive, good people who are going to help me progress? If you're not, get rid of them. Resilience. Are you building enough resilience in life? Like when a bad email comes at work, how are you actually dealing with it? Then committing. And one of the biggest things that I do for people is hold them accountable. So when people make goals and we come up with an action plan, the one thing they say to me that was the difference between them doing it and not doing it was normally my chat in their mind going, you will do it. but we set up a WhatsApp group, and then they'll message me saying, I've done that task, we're moving in the right direction, and it's really positive, or I wasn't feeling great, or something, but at least it's holding people accountable, and it's that accountability that makes people make the change. So that is how I didn't die on the mountain.
So Dan, if anyone else wants to become a customer, how do they find you? Where are you? And what can they expect to find?
Yep. So I've got a website, atomicrambo.com. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. On Instagram, if you want to just follow me, because I show everything I do, all the running, business, and ARC material as well. That's @dutyhappybloke, and feel free to email me anytime, info@atomicrambo.com. And I have a free group call Wednesday nights at 6:00. And we just go through different things on the ARC method and how people can improve, and that's just for an hour. There's a whole story behind Duty Happy Bloke as well. That was a gift from an American for me, for being the happiest, bloodiest guy of the day.
Brilliant. Well, all those links, and we'll stick all those in the show notes as well. But I found that conversation humbling, inspirational, all at the same time. Really enjoyed talking to you. So from me, thank you very much, Dan, for being on the show.
That was really eye-opening.
Yeah, thanks for having me on as well. I really appreciate it.
No, anytime. And if you want to shout about your upcoming training events and all the stuff, we'll be happy to have you on anytime. Believe me.
Oh, cheers, guys.
So, Rich, you said at the beginning we were impressed by Dan, weren't we?
Tad, yeah, just a little bit.
I mean, you said in the build-up to the intro that, we were open-mouthed at time about that. And one of the things that I felt, and I mentioned it during the interview, was that Dan didn't feel like he was giving these incidents their due weight, and it was just an impression I had that he felt like, well, that's me describing it, but that doesn't really capture the drama, the intensity, the adrenaline-filled moments of us. And you and I are both on the floor. My heart was beat like
I was palpitations. I could feel my breathing rate change. Genuinely, I was picturing what was going. I mean, and what I was picturing probably wasn't 1/10 of actually what it was like. And even then, it was mind-blowing.
Yeah, I think one of the weird things about modern warfare is how accessible it is to watch these days. If you so what, like soldiers wear GoPros and I've seen some of these clips, as I mentioned, in like these marine documentaries that follow recruits through training and then to Afghanistan, and then rather than hearing about it, you can actually be in the moment. And I mean, without any of the danger, obviously, but even in those moments, I feel this sort of dread and, as you say, heart palpitations when watching that. And that is exactly how I felt when he was saying that. So I'm really grateful for him to recount those, which are still traumatic experiences, and he's come through that to not only be able to talk about it but also help other people as well.
Incredible. It makes you reflect on what you worry about, your goals, your aims. Yeah, genuinely warm, lovely guy. Cannot speak highly enough.
No, I agree with that. Do you know the problem with these like great big doses of perspective that you get every now and then? They only last. Next week I'll be saying, fucking hell, like, what do you mean I've got to have steak again tonight?
This week, the girls have been away. They leave the house at 7:30 in the morning. They're at a pony club camp. Love it. They're having a great time. They leave the house at 7:30, get back about 6 or 7. I'm walking the dogs, going to the gym, bit of golf. But then in the other times, I'm like, I'm all alone. Someone, no one's here for me. And just grow up, man. For God's sake,
Well, maybe you should just phone your friends. You know what a big appetite.
I phone you and you tell me, fuck off. What are you phoning me for? Is the first thing you say. Pest.
Yeah,
no, the word I get is pest.
Yeah, maybe I should stop doing that. Yeah, so that was Dan. He's a better person than I am. So,
100%.
And so I think you mentioned the possibility of going through the course. Are you still thinking about saying that?
Yeah, I think it will be really beneficial for me. I mean, already I've had a few weeks off, and I know we've got 3 weeks of some holidays, so I'm thinking about next week starting to get back. And already that anxiety's for no reason. There's no reason. Everything's good, but the anxiety's building. Oh, you've got to do this. I just need that someone to give me that structure, the focus. Well, not give me, show,
Well, you need to be
Sharpen
given
me.
tools. You need
Yeah.
to be given the tools to manage these situations.
Yeah.
So these things, they do work, and I really encourage anyone who is struggling. You may think I'm struggling with just the day-to-day rigors of life, and that's fine. But it's also fine to try and seek out help in that circumstance as well. You don't have to be sitting on the edge of a bridge before you reach out and ask for help. Do it way before that.
Yeah.
That is my big message.
Don't let. And I've always been one of those people that if there's an issue there, leave it to the very last minute and catastrophise about it. And once you deal with it, guess what? It wasn't nowhere near as bad as you made it out to be. And if you had dealt with it at an earlier time, then you wouldn't have had probably so many issues or all that stress. And
I mean, I find it really comforting talking to a stranger in that regard. That's what I've done in the past, because I feel like totally unencumbered by what my role is meant to be in life. And we've all got our little roles to play, whether it's within family or work or friend dynamics, but once you're stuck in those roles, it can be very difficult to get out of. So if you can find somebody where you can be a little bit more authentic, maybe that will help. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'll tell you who are experts in these things. Calm. The Campaign Against Living Miserably. As we said at the top of the show, through September, we'll be part of the Stay Tuned campaign. Their suicide prevention helpline is open from 5 p.m. to midnight every day. You can access that at 0800 58 58 58 or go to calmzone.net and use the chat or WhatsApp function. And we've got a fundraising link in the show description. Calm are asking for £12.20, which is covering the cost of one of those calls. But, of course, anything that you could give, we'll be very grateful for. Reach out to us on dadsgotanothertattoo@gmail.com or Dad's Got Another Tattoo on the social media. Let us know if there's any subjects on this matter you'd like us to cover. Maybe we'll get someone in who actually knows what they're talking about to talk about it.
I also would love to donate £500 if Mark sits in a bath of beans.
Oh, fuck off.
He's clipping that. That's never making it.
Well, we'll see. How long do I have to sit in this fucking bath for?
Half an hour.
Half an hour? 500 quid? Well, we'll see. Well, let's see what happens. I'm going to leave that in.
No.
I'll leave that in. Oh, you'll be able to see my tattoos and my muscular physique.
Hello, now he's interested.
Anyway, get in touch. Donate 500 quid if you want to see my tattoos in a bath of beans. But until then, we'll leave it there. We'd love to hear what you thought of Dan as well. A little shout out to Will A, who put us in touch with Dan as well. Thanks very much, Will.
Thanks, Will.
For sorting that out. We'll have another couple of guests from the vault over the next couple of weeks before the Stay Tuned campaign starts. But until then, that's it for now. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Mom, Dad,